Since we have one-shot snipers right now, what are the best sniper support guns to pair with them in Season 2? Especially having an eye on Ashika Island, because there's something like the Rapp H with a time to kill of a Lackman sub. After every build, there's a full tuning screenshot included. Let's start with a set Rapp H. Two things you can do. You can play this with an FSS Oldie laser for more aim down sight speed and sprint to fire as well. Or alternatively, you could also play this with a canted laser. But since we're going to go for like 30-40 meter shots, we'll play this with an OV at this point. Rear grip, you have the LMK64 grip. It slightly reduces recoil, but again, it gives us aim down sight speed and even more sprint to fire. And that's kind of something you want to improve on this LMG to not just get outgunned close quarter. You do not need high velocity rounds because the gun basic has 700 meters per second, which is more than enough for sniper support, even for these 30-40 meter shots. Now you have two good attachments already on, and your recoil is pretty stable. But if you're trying to do these kind of shots, especially without a sight, you're a little bit over the place. And right now with 34 bullets in, you notice what the gun shoots. A little bit left and right, wibble wobble, and more or less just straight up. And for this, we're going to whoop out the SA Leveler 55. Has a good chunk of horizontal, but still vertical recoil to take care of both bounces that the gun has to offer on 25 and 65. Now you saw me struggling on the long range. If you don't want a sight, that's fine. But I noticed with the Chrono Mini Pro, I do just hit more shots regularly and consistently. Now we have three choices to make. Last attachment could improve ADS time. Stock, minus 14 milliseconds and 4% recoil control plus, but overall, you actually move faster with the gun. Versus Barrel with a Lackman Nova, giving you overall movement speed, but also 8% recoil control minus, and also reduces the damage range slightly. Versus the Underbarrel Shark Fin, which gives us aiming idle stability. Slightly, you can tune this towards ADS speed. I have to say that best experience with the mobile stock, because you can tune this towards some aiming idle stability so the gun doesn't waver that much, and do some more aim down sight speed. And now with this plethora of attachments together, if you're shooting the short range, mid range, and even the long range, you're well on, and this was before, and this is after now. You notice that especially that horizontal is taken care of. Now if you're saying, Pony, I can't handle the wibble wobble, put the stock off, put the edge grip on, tune this towards aiming idle stability and also recoil stabilization, and it's going to be even more secure to hit your shots. Now let's follow up with the Chimera, which also has the 525 milliseconds time to kill, just like the Rapp H, as the Lackman sub has. Problem is the Chimera has a very low bullet velocity of only 350 meters per second, so we 100% need to already play a barrel to improve that slightly. That can be tuned towards aim down sight speed and also recoil steadiness. Most importantly here, we're playing this with a canted laser because I do not like the iron sight for the love of God. Especially when you're doing like these shots maybe, but when you're trying to do any kind of long range shot with the environment in the way, can't handle it. So I play this with a canted laser, tune this then for aim down sight speed and sprint to fire speed. So I don't have to waste for an optic. For the muzzle, we're going for the Bore 49 that takes care of the recoil that the Chimera has the best for gun kick control and recoil stabilization. And then we can add the 45 round mag as well. Now, last but not least, the best attachment that has crystallized out for me is the OPX 9 grip. Why that? Doesn't do much ADS time minus, slight recoil steadiness, and you can tune this for aim down sight speed, 30, plus a little bit of hip recoil control. Because again, if you're using a canted laser, it looks like this. But you might very often start shooting someone close up like this, and then swap, and then this, and then swap. So having a slight increase of hip fire recoil control is quite nice. Now with these attachments, you can hit this shot, and very easy this shot as well. Canted is something to get used to, and if you really can't get used to it, put the OPX 9 grip off, the canted laser off, VLK LZR, and the Chrono Mini Pro. Now, if you're looking to play an SMG as sniper support, the PDSW 5-8 might be the choice because it has a 14 meter effective damage range with a 594 milliseconds time to kill. So slower time to kill adds the ARs actually, but it's an SMG. It's more mobile, has better sprint to fire, kind of better everything. And we're going to use as a barrel the FTech Series 14.5, which ruins our recoil slightly, but it gives us a 20% increase of effective damage range, which we can tune out even further. And then we can tune this also towards recoil steadiness to get that 20 meters effective damage range. Also here, we're going to play this with the Canton laser because the iron sight is just absolutely atrocious for aim down sight speed and sprint to fire speed. Followed up with the Locutor compensator for the horizontal schlicka schlacka the gun has to offer, because it really goes and we really don't want that. Now, as a rear grip, we follow up with the Bruin Q900 for even more sprint to fire and aim down sight speed. We don't even need that because the gun is so fast and feels so good. Before we put on the last attachment, in the firing range, you can already see good ADS time, very fast zooming speed. You have a 50 round base mag, which is very good. You can hit these shots, and even the further shots. That's definitely where the ARs are being better. But for these further shots, we have something that is the Coom. And the cool thing is this is sprint to fire speed and aim down sight speed as well, without ruining recoil in any way. But you can tune this for recoil stabilization to get a wee bit more out of that. And then again, even more aim down sight speed. So the amount of bonuses you can get from these attachments are quite crazy. And then we end up with a gun that has this kind of recoil. Goes more or less just straight up with some horizontal bippity bounce, where we have the barrel for. And then you can hit these shots very nicely. The distance will always be a problem for the PDSW, simply because the ARs are just better at that damage range. Which brings me to my true favorite, the best loadout for me as a sniper support gun, and that's actually the Kastov 74U. Why that? Because the gun has a 550 milliseconds time to kill, so very nice there in the middle, with a 21 meters effective damage range, but most importantly, it's very agile, mobile, and just feels like an SMG while having this more effective damage range and an SMG ADS time. Now, magazine, we put on the 45 round mag. It would be cooler to use the 30, but it's just not an option. With the laser, we go for the FSS OV laser. I tried using the canted here, but it just doesn't work on this gun due to the unique recoil taka it does. There's no barrel to use because none of them does increased effective damage range, so we don't want that. We only have a 590 meters per second, so we could think about putting high velocity rounds. 590 though is enough, especially on Ashika Island or however you pronounce it. If you do really want more bullet velocity, I would probably look at the Echolis because that is also a 14% increase in effective damage range. Well, you get a huge chunk of ADS time, but this one tuned towards bullet velocity and aim down sight speed gives you a nice sounding gun. With a good 3 meters increase in effective damage range to 24 meters. Now, if you have an eye on that recoil, it more or less goes straight up with some left and right bounce. But more or less, just really goes straight up. For the recoil, it would probably be best to actually take the demo grip because that is a recoil control without ADS time minus, and it's 7 and 7%. And you could tune this even more towards sprint to fire speed, which is good. And then instead of going for aim down sight speed here, I would go for recoil steadiness. Very nice choice. Now, if you like the iron sight, you have the option to put an underbarrel or even high velocity rounds on. I do personally have to use a Chrono Mini Pro, and that is giving me this kind of recoil, which I said is a little bit of a taka. You feel it's like taka, which is okay for the Chrono Mini Pro. But if you go for iron sight, it doesn't really feel very good. And that goes for far and aim down sight speed and is my favorite SMG sniper support out there. Now, if you're liking the information on one-shot snipers and how it works, here's the video on the one-shot snipers.